What's going on, guys? Today we're going to do a iceberg of the paranormal incidents of the southern United States. It's gonna be a pretty fun one, so grab some drinks, grab some food, get relaxed, and let's watch this. And please subscribe if you guys want more. And let's go. The Valley Hill Lights. The Valley Hill Lights refer to a series of strange events in 1995 near Valley Hill in Springfield, Kentucky. Thousands of people flocked to this area after reports of visions of the Virgin Mary and these bursts of colors in the sky and, quote, showers of, quote, golden flakes. Witnesses, including children and adults, claimed to see these pulsating lights around the sun, which then kind of led to these spiritual beings being seen, such as Jesus, multiple angels, and the Virgin Mary. Lots of photographs were taken, and there's these like little things in the pictures I've seen here, which people are saying are angels. This is quite a famous case, and got a lot of attention during the time. There's a lot of people who say all this is the Polaroids having like defects on them, but a lot of people swear what they saw was true. So whatever it is, it remains a mystery to this very day. The I-4 Dead Zone. It's a quarter-mile stretch of Interstate 4 near Sanford in Florida. Believed to be one of the most haunted roadways in the United States, this road was built directly over the grave of 4 German immigrants. Countless photographs have been taken of a ghost and other stuff in this area. Lots of reports of floating orbs, phantom hitchhikers, and ghostly trucks have been spotted. Drivers often always complain of sudden cell service, blackouts, electronic malfunctions, and it's been reported there's actually a very high, unusually high number of crashes in this small section of highway. With the people being buried beneath it, it's believed that they could be either cursing the road or haunting the road. But it's got quite an eerie reputation, and it's strange because I actually drive this road quite often. The Chapel Hill Ghost Light. The Chapel Hill Ghost Light is a famous phenomenon near the railroad tracks in Chapel Hill, Tennessee. Witness reports seeing a glowing orb move erratically along the train tracks. The local legend said it's the light of the spirit of a headless signalman, but no one really knows the true story. The many train engineers claim they have seen it cross into the town. Many people on the ground said they see it. Over the years, lots of stories come from people seeing it come towards them. People claim it can shake the ground, and some people say it makes their car stalls and leave mysterious scratch marks on them, but no one truly knows. A verified idea is that it was of a man who died in 1942 named Skip Agent. Some think he could be haunting the train track, but no one really knows. And there's actually a really, really good song. I'm going to show it right here. I found this while doing the research, and take it for a listen. It's worth it. Land's End Light. The Land's End Light is a mysterious yellowish orb that appears along a 3-mile stretch of Land's End Road on St. Helena Island, South Carolina. A gorgeous place. Often called the state's own, quote, Sleepy Hollow, the light is said to hover about 10 to 12 feet above the ground before racing towards onlookers. Kind of a common theme with the lights going towards onlookers. It's even known to chase cars down the road. Now, some legends claim this is from the ghost of Private Frank Quigley, a Confederate soldier who lost his life in a battle in 1861. Others believe it could have been a runaway slave or a heartbroken slave who unfortunately died somehow, either was chased down or something just happened. People say the ancient tree is maybe where he passed away and forever haunts the road. Some skeptics claim the light can be explained by the marshes nearby or swamp gas, but people around the area say there is no marshes and there is no swamp gas. So this is an ongoing mystery in South Carolina. The first UFO. This literally is just the first ever flying saucer. So apparently in 1878, a Texas farmer named John Martin reported the first ever flying saucer. He reported this way before it was even a popular term, and according to newspapers, he basically just said he saw a dark object high in the southern sky that grew larger and brighter as it got closer. Eventually, it resembled what we know now as a giant saucer, and he said it was over his head, going very fast. His sighting is actually believed to be the first ever recorded use of the term flying saucer. The Limp Mansion. The Limp Mansion, once home to one of St. Louis's richest families, the Limp Mansion has a history soaked in tragedy. After building a brewing empire in the 1800s, the Limp family was struck by a series of deaths including 4 suicides. These were all tied to the mansion. Rumors also swirl about a hidden, quote, monkey-faced boy, yes, that's the name, an illegitimate child with Down syndrome that was kept in the attic. But today, the mansion is known for its hotspot of paranormal activity. Guests and staff report phantom footsteps, doors locking themselves, and ghostly faces in the windows. Many claim to hear voices come from the old caves that run beneath the house, and many images have these orbs I'm showing right here that are found in the image. But yeah, it's pretty much just a haunted house in St. Louis, Missouri. The Witch of Yazoo. In Yazoo City, Mississippi, there's a story of this old woman who would lure fishermen to her home. She supposedly poisoned them with arsenic and would bury their bodies near the Yazoo River. Eventually, her crimes were discovered in the year 1884. So, fleeing the police, she ran to the swamps, but she was trapped in the quicksand. And supposedly, she cursed the town with her last dying breath, vowing to return and burn it down on May 25th, 1904. Strangely, exactly 20 years later after she died, a huge fire swept through the town of Yazoo City and burnt almost everything. And the locals ended up checking her gravesite, and they had this chain that was supposed to keep her in the ground. It was actually snapped in half. This is more of a story, but it's very interesting because apparently this is the fire was real and the gravestone is real, as seen here. The ghost lights at Cohoe Crossing. So basically what this is another kind of haunted railway station. These are in Cohoe, where West Point, Virginia. It's an old railroad station that has a very strange light that often appears at nighttime. It's described as a ghostly white glowing or floating above the tracks kind of light. Some say it's the lantern of a decapitated railroad worker. Others say it's some Confederate ghost. Some people have blamed swamp gas or distant headlights as the cause of this. And it's always been kind of a mystery in this area, but as of lately, apparently the sightings have got even more rare. So I guess the Cohoe light is just disappearing. So yeah, but it's mainly just a haunted railway. Nothing too crazy with this one. The Gray Man of the coast of South Carolina. So basically, since 1822, there has been this legend of a gray man who has been haunting South Carolina's coast. It's said to be the ghost of a heartbroken fiance who was killed in a tragic accident. The gray man has been seen before major hurricanes, and it's kind of like a warning now for people. So if you see the gray man walk the coast of South Carolina, you need to evacuate, leave your homes. Some people claim who see them, their homes are actually untouched by the storms. Multiple sightings have been reported before hurricanes like Hugo and Florence. And the most recent one was in 2023, and there's actually a beach photo of this, and this is it right here. The Phantom Hiker of Grandfather Mountain. So, Grandfather Mountain in North Carolina, a beautiful mountain, by the way. Many hikers claim to encounter a silent, bearded man dressed in old-fashioned work clothes, and he carries his canvas backpack and a walking stick and appears at dusk. He's said to walk ahead without a word before vanishing into thin air in front of people. Some people think he's a ghost of a lost hiker who died in the wilderness. Others simply say he's a spirit who loved the mountain too much to ever leave, but no one really knows. The Sunshine Skyway Ghost. So the Sunshine Skyway Bridge is a bridge that was built in Florida. However, there was a massive collapse in 1980. And what happened is a large section of the bridge fell down, and a lot of cars and a couple people and a Greyhound bus actually crashed into the water. This killed 35 people. And since then, the new bridge was built in its place, and there has been a lot of ghost stories. Some people claim seeing phantom buses, dripping wet apparitions, and some people say they see these phantom hitchhikers. But this tragedy actually had almost 300 recorded people commit their own toaster bath from this bridge, and it has actually cemented this bridge as one of America's most haunted stretches of roadway, which, remember earlier, there was one on I-4, so Florida's got some haunted bridges. the Gurdon Light in Arkansas. So this one takes place in Gurdon, Arkansas. So basically, this is another haunted railway. This light was first reported in 1930 near the Gurdon, Arkansas area. The Gurdon Light is a mysterious floating orb that appears above the remote railroad tracks, often linked to the 1931 murder of railroad foreman William McLean. Legends claim this is the ghostly lantern of McLean, or maybe another unlucky worker who could have, passed away on the railroad. Once again, skeptics claim it could be swamp gas or reflections or car lights from the distance, but no one really knows, as the light's persistence is always claimed in all weather, and there has been lots of reports before the highways even existed. So it's still an unsolved mystery, and there's actually a TV show. Unsolved Mysteries is the name of it. It was featured in 1994 on this exact light, so yeah, it's cool. The Tomb of Nina Craig Miles. So this is in Cleveland, Tennessee, and this is a very weird one. So in 1871, there was a 7-year-old named Nina Craig Miles. She died in a buggy accident involving a train in Cleveland, Tennessee. Her father, who was, taking her with grief, his name was John Craig Miles. He honored her memory by constructing a mausoleum at St. Luke's Episcopal Church, and he made it out of marble. It's a very big mausoleum as shown here, but soon after it was built, these red stains resembling blood began to appear on the mausoleum's the pristine marble, and particularly it appeared above the entrance arch. And despite all the attempts to clean it or replace the marble, the red discoloration still persists, fueling the local legends the tomb bleeds. While no one really understands it, some people say it's the natural imperfections of the marble. But still, actually, no one really explained this, and it's kind of a famous place over here in Tennessee folklore. The Hempfield Tunnel in West Virginia. So yeah, this is basically just a haunted tunnel. It's called the Wheeling Heritage Trail, or also called Hempfield Tunnel. This tunnel was built beneath an old cemetery in Wheeling, West Virginia. The tunnel is now part of the Wheeling Heritage Trail. That's where the name comes from. But it's said to be haunted by multiple ghosts, including one called Alois Ulrich, if I'm pronouncing that right. She was a German immigrant who was murdered there in 1867 by the infamous hatchet slayer, Joseph I believe his name was. Witnesses have reported seeing a ghostly figure dripping with green slime emerge from the tunnel ceiling while begging to the living people to, quote, let the dead rest. Yeah, this is pretty much just a famous folklore story over here. People often walk this for just getting exercise, but many people claim this is a haunted tunnel, and it definitely looks the part, so yeah. The Hornet Spook Lights. The Hornet Spook Lights, or also called the Joplin Spook Light, is deep in the backwoods near Oklahoma-Missouri border. Basically, this has been a mysterious light that's been reported for many years. Since the 19th century, it's actually been commonly reported to the point where local businesses would take up advertisements or take advantage of these stories. Basically, what people report is these glowing orbs that zip around, hover, and sometimes even approach onlookers along the Devil's Pomade. Its origins are, well, I guess based back from Native American legends, tragic love stories, and ghostly lore. Despite scientific attempts to explain it as distant car headlights, countless eyewitnesses swear what they saw was real, and it's been actually a pretty popular light phenomenon. And there's actually a museum, or I don't know if it's still around, but here it is right here. So yeah, it's a pretty old school ghost story. Lydia's Bridge in Jamestown, North Carolina, is one of North Carolina's more famous ghost stories. So Lydia's Bridge is said to be haunted by the spirit of a young woman in white, also called a vanishing hitchhiker who died in a car crash beneath the bridge in the 1920s. Though now the bridge is mainly just a graffiti-covered bridge, it's still visible from the road. However, it's been overgrown pretty significantly. But for many years, there were lots of ghost stories of the ghost who's supposed to be called Annie L. Jackson. Basically, it's a little girl who disappears there and points towards something, and usually look to where she's pointing, then you look back at her and she disappears. It's a pretty famous ghost story, but it's pretty common in the South, these haunted bridges. The Dead Children's Playground in Huntsville, Alabama. So, Huntsville, Alabama, the historic Maple Hill Cemetery, there's actually a playground that's built on it, which is very unusual. The Erie Playground got its chilling nickname from locals who believe the spirits of children lost during the deadly 1918 Spanish flu pandemic haunt the playground. It's been a pretty popular story for a long time, but it's amplified by how just eerie the playground looks. It's surrounded by limestone cliffs, and it's very much shaded from the trees. So visitors often report seeing swings move on their own, ghostly orbs of the place, shadow figures after dark. While it's still used pretty much every day as a playground, it has a very, very tragic story to it. The Pocahontas Parkway. Basically, this is just a parkway that was built over a Native American burial site. Um, it's been infamous for the ghostly sightings and the strange sounds people report hearing or seeing on the bridge. Phantom warriors on horseback to disembodied drums and ghost cars have all been reported. Construction workers and toll booth operators are the people who primarily report these things. But it's basically just a haunted location over a burial site. That's all I could find on this. There's not too much information, so moving on. Lake Lanier, Georgia. In northern Georgia, it is quite famous because, well, a lot of people use it for boating or swimming, fishing, etc. But it's kind of well known because it is considered America's most haunted lake, or at least one of them. In the 1950s, it was actually flooded, and it was actually a town underneath that was flooded. Multiple graves were flooded. Possibility of Native American burial sites were also flooded. So far, since the lake's been made, since the 1950s, there's been over 200 deaths in the area. Lots of legends pretty much claim of this like ghost girl who haunts it. And they actually made a movie about this. It's called Lady of the Lake and the Lake Lanier Haunting. The movie, I'm showing it right here. Apparently, it was pretty bad. But yeah. So basically, this was just a lake that was built on top of a town and a bunch of burial sites, and it flooded. So yeah, that's kind of why it's on this list. It's supposedly just a haunted lake. Cyclops of the Bayou. So this is pretty much for the entirety of Louisiana. There's stories that in the dark swamps of Louisiana in the bayou, there's a cryptid. Supposedly it's been sighted since 1957, and it's a cyclops, and people call it the Cyclops of the Bayou. There's a famous story where there's 4 friends who were out driving, and they said that they claimed they saw a 7.5 foot tall creature, roughly 325 pounds, with like ragged clothing come out of the bayou. And they said it just looked at them and scared them to death, so they ran away, and it apparently ran back in the woods. Multiple people claim when they're out in the bayous of Louisiana they see this thing, and it's mainly just like pretty much a legend at this point. I couldn't really find any images of it or any other stories in that, but yeah. The 1977 Flora U of O sighting in Mississippi. So basically, in Flora, Mississippi, a very small town. It's best known for its petrified forest. In 1977, there was a very famous UFO case. So the night of February 10th, approximately 24 police officers and many locals witnessed what they claim was a metallic blue spinning top-shaped UFO. They said it was about 20 feet over a cotton field, and it was sitting there for about 45 minutes. People described it had glowing potholes on the sides. It was supposedly very silent, and it was trailing slowly over the treetops, and then it just vanished in front of them. There's actually a famous sheriff's testimony. He brought a lot of national attention when he said it out loud, and he basically said that what they saw was real. They did indeed saw some kind of UFO, and that there was nothing else, no hoax or anything with it. Supposedly, there's some CIA intervention on this. They were trying to like silence the witnesses, but I couldn't really find anything on that. A lot of people, though, they still claim what they saw was real, and it's got a little bit of a popularity in the UFO community. A lot of people come down to town and just kind of try to go where the area was located. The Aurora UFO crash in Texas. This is one of the most famous UFO cases in history. It's also one of the strangest. So basically, in Aurora, Texas, in the year 1897, on April 17th, locals claimed a mysterious airship crashed into the Judge Proctor's windmill. That was his name, Judge Proctor. Supposedly, it exploded with such a force that debris was scattered for acres. And among the wreckage, townspeople allegedly discovered the body of a non-human pilot, described as, end quote, not inhabitant of this world. There was also a local astronomer who claimed it was from Mars. And what's weird is the alien was actually buried in the cemetery, or that's what the story says. And there's actually a marker right here where supposedly the alien is buried. This is one of the earliest and just most famous UFO cases. Many residents would later say this was actually like a hoax, and they made this up so they can try to get the town some more popularity because it was really struggling. There's even actually an historical marker here that it refers to the incident as a legend. So, no one really knows, but it's pretty cool. You can go to a gravesite and see a supposed alien burial site. That strange bush in Kentucky. This is a very weird one, so bear with me now. So, in 1976, a ROTC training exercise in Warren County, Kentucky, had a bizarre turn when high school sophomore Robert, can you find his last name, but his name is supposed to be just Robert, he claimed to have witnessed a bush get up and walk away. So he claims he was stationed alone at nighttime, doing some kind of like watch exercise near an old barn. And he said what he saw was a bush move, start swaying unnaturally, and then it got up and walked away. So this is pretty much all I could find on this story. It could easily just be an hallucination, someone pretending to be a bush, or he was tripping out, or he may have actually seen a bush with legs get up and walk away. The ghost train of Boston Bridge in North Carolina. So basically, this is a tragic tale of a disaster. In 1891, the Boston Bridge train disaster happened, and it's North Carolina's most tragic and one of its most famous stories as of today. So, minutes after departing Statesville, a passenger train carrying over 70 people mysteriously derailed. No one actually has identified the reason for the derailment, but what happened is the train fell 60 feet into the third creek below, and it killed more than 20. Now, theories have ranged from a sabotage to track neglect, but no one has ever definitively found the actual cause for the accident. But it doesn't end here. For decades, witnesses reported actually seeing the ghost train fall off the bridge. They say they actually see the ghost train appear on the bridge and then fall off of it. And it's claimed to be some kind of residual haunting. In 2010, the legend claimed another life when a ghost hunter was trying to find the phantom locomotive, actually got struck and killed by a real train during a midnight investigation. And people claim to see full body apparitions of this guy and the train that hit him. So it's a crazy story. The pictures are really, really eerie and kind of sad. I'm showing them here. But yeah, so if you're ever in the North Carolina area, you should stop and come by. It's really, really creepy. The Georgia Stocks incident. So in July of 1951, a pilot with the name Fred Reagan was he experienced one of the strangest and most surreal UFO encounters pretty much ever, and definitely the craziest one I ever read about. So this is now known as the Georgia Stalk sighting. So while Fred was flying his Piper Club over Georgia, he claimed he felt an invisible force yank his aircraft skyward and caused a mid-air collision with a bizarre, unidentified flying object. He claims after the incident he awoke inside the aircraft, or the craft, face to face with three metallic asparagus-shaped entities. Each, he said, were standing about 3 feet tall, and they spoke telepathically to him, and they apologized for the crash. He said they performed a brief medical examination on him and said that he had cancer and that they have cured it. Moments later, he was found unconscious but completely unharmed in a field, while his plane's engine was actually buried 6 feet into the ground nearby. So it's a pretty strange thing. The picture I have up here is kind of showing what he explained it to be. And this is now known as the Georgia Stocks incident. Ryan Williamson. So this is a very weird case out of Selma, Alabama. Story goes, on a summer day in 1854, farmer, Orion Williamson, seemingly blinked out of existence before the very eyes of his family and neighbors. Williamson was casually strolling across his field to apparently to like tend to his farmland. He was seen waving and passing by his neighbors, and then instantly they said he was gone. They said he disappeared literally within their eyes. All the witnesses ran to the spot, but they claimed there was no trace, no sound, no footprint, just empty grass. Absolutely nothing remained of him. A massive search would then follow. Hundreds of volunteers would then try to look for him, bloodhounds, and even a ground excavation, but not a single clue was surfacing. He literally disappeared in front of everybody. And his family claims a couple weeks after he disappeared, they would hear him like cry for help in the field, and like the sound of his voice would fade over time. So this is one of the earlier accounts of potential, like, I don't know, some people say it's interdimensional portal, magnetic anomalies. Some say he may have time traveled. There's a lot of mystery about this. It's a pretty well-known case, and yeah, it's kind of eerie because who knows? Maybe you just disappear at any given time. An airship sighting. So this is actually a string of sightings of this year, but one in particular was in Arkansas. Basically, it was a constable named John Sumter Jr. and his deputy sheriff named John McLorman. They reported an encounter which may have been one of the first UFO encounters. And so May 6th, 1897, they were investigating a cattle rustling near Jesseville, and the officers claimed they saw this strange light in the sky that descended behind the hills. They ended up following its path, and then they spotted what they said was, quote, mysterious figures carrying lanterns in the woods. So they approached them with the weapons drawn, and they were met by this bearded guy who claimed he and his companions were traveling the country in a 60-foot-long cigar-shaped airship. He even apparently offered them a tour, which they declined. By morning, the ship and its crew had apparently vanished without a trace. And what's interesting is there's actually a number of incidents like this from the year of 1896 to 1897. A lot of people claim they saw these airships in the sky, which, you know, doesn't really make sense because they weren't really used until about a decade after, but they were being experimented with, so it could be the case. But this is most likely just a hoax, but it was a very famous story for many, many years, and it's creepy though when you think about it. The White Horse of the Wind. So this is another bizarre one. So basically this takes place in July of 1878 in Parkersburg, West Virginia. And basically what people claimed is on a clear summer evening, a group of farmers looked up and were stunned to see what they said was a white horse. Not galloping across the hill, but swimming through the sky. They claimed the creature was thrashing its legs and tossed its head like it was almost in distress, and it ascended at a steady 45-degree angle into the glowing sky. They said there were no ropes, no balloon, nothing like that moving up or anything like that. They said they literally just saw an animal start walking into the sky and drifted off out of view. Now, many people say this is a hoax or hallucination or a freak atmospheric mirage, but every witness, pretty much to the day they die, swear what they saw was real. And there's no images of this or anything, but it's still a pretty popular story. And yeah, it's one of the crazier things I've read today. The Wood Diva in Arkansas. So this is a really strange one. Had a hard time finding information about it. But what I have found is multiple people report a human-sized woman who has appeared in a remote forest in the 1990s. Two sisters claim they saw a glowing woman in white in the woods behind their grandparents' house. Apparently she smiled, waved, and disappeared pretty much instantly in front of them. Uncannily similar sightings have occurred in Lancashire, Nova Scotia, Missouri, and Pennsylvania. Pretty much multiple people all describe seeing the same kind of woman with the flowering hair and a radiant dress disappear in front of them, and then sometimes communicates, quote, telepathically to them. No one really knows what this is. People think it's a ghost, fairies. People just say it's just completely made up in a folklore, but yeah, this is pretty much all I could find on this one right here. And last but not least, the Gaffney aliens, heading pretty close to my home in Gaffney, South Carolina. Basically, this is just a alien sighting. In 1966, a couple of South Carolina police officers were basically just at 4 a.m. patrolling a rural road near Gaffney. They said that they went face to face with this metallic spherical craft that was hovering just above the ground. and they pretty much just watched it for a little while. Then they claimed it landed, the hatch opened, and a 4-foot tall humanoid came out. They described him being a gleamingly gold buttonless suit on, and he had a short ladder to get off the craft with. Apparently it spoke flawless accent-free English, and began pretty much just asking the officers weird questions like why they were dressed like that, what they're doing, and basically it wouldn't accept questions in return because the officers were, asking them things. Apparently the last thing it said was, "I will return in 2 days," before going back into its craft, and then it just disappeared. Nothing ever came back from it. The footprints, there were multiple footprints found, and that's pretty much it for this. The Gaffney alien case stands out because it's, I guess, encountered by police officers. So people say, why would police officers make this up? And it's supposed to be one of the more convincing stories. I couldn't really find the pictures of the footprints or anything. I looked, but yeah, that's just the iceberg. If you got this far, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.